What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Shark Shed channel. So today I wanted to spend a little bit of time answering the question that I get asked the most whenever I do these shed build videos, and that is, what did it cost me to build the shed? Now, as most of you all know, I probably over-engineered this shed, number one. Number two, I actually do have a few skills, even though I didn't do this off of any plans or anything like that. So it's a little bit difficult to actually translate that into somebody else's build that they would take from either plans or something else and then go through the whole process. Now, my brain just happens to work that way, and so that's one of the reasons why it's a little bit difficult to just kind of answer the question like what it would really cost to build because of the labor standpoint. But when you talk about materials, I actually did keep really good records, and I kept all my receipts for the very purpose of being able to go back and share with you guys how much it actually cost to build. I could keep you waiting until the end of the video, but I'm not going to do that to you, so I'll go ahead and tell you what the cost is, but I'm also going to go through and talk to you about what each individual type of material costs. So for instance, lumber, fasteners, that sort of thing. I have a breakdown of that, and then I also have a breakdown of each of the phases of the build so that you guys can have an idea of what each part costs. So for starters, let's talk about the overall cost. So the overall cost of building the shed was $3,837.29. Now, I'll be honest with you, I was a little surprised with that number. I thought that number was going to be a lot higher. I thought we were going to be closer to around $5,000, but the truth is, I think one of the things that kept the number down so much was the sheer size of the shed. It's only a 10 by 9 or a 9 by 10 shed, and so I think that was one of the reasons why it didn't cost you very much. Obviously, with a bigger shed, it would cost a lot more, but you also have to remember, whenever you build these sheds, a lot of it is labor, and so since I did all the work myself, I didn't have any labor costs. Now, to give you an idea of what a shed of this size would cost for similar materials, similar build style and everything else, I looked around the internet and I tried to find something that was pretty similar. I would say that the cost is somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000. It depends on the materials you use. It also depends on what part of the country you live in. All those things will factor in because labor costs do differ between, let's say, somewhere in rural Alabama versus somewhere up in the Boston area. So keep all of that in mind. So overall, I think that was a good guesstimate on the number. One of the other things that I want to go ahead and remind everybody is that when I built this shed, it was actually at the peak of the lumber price hike that was happening during the summer. And I kept thinking to myself that I probably should have waited to build this shed until it was a little bit cheaper, but I really needed a shed, and I just said, I'm just gonna go ahead and go for it. I did a little bit of research just to see how much I think that it would have been cheaper had I waited for the prices to come down. And again, that's another area that's a little bit difficult to calculate. And the reason why is because one of the things you have to keep in mind is that the type of lumber matters in the price hike. So for instance, pressure treated wood is actually really, really high. It's probably about a 50% difference, but that wasn't a majority of what I built this with. Regular lumber, dimensional lumber would probably be about 20 to 30% higher. And then any trim pieces are gonna be about what they were, maybe 10 to 20%, a little bit higher during the summer months, as opposed to had I waited to do it during the fall. So the price difference probably would have come down, I'd say around 25%. So from $3,800, whatever that number is where we would be. It'd probably be closer to $3,000, to be honest with you. But again, the price wouldn't have necessarily changed that much had I had somebody build it or if I had bought it already pre-built, because the price is the price, right? I mean, they may hike it up a little bit, but they're not gonna come down for me at all. So I was able to save a lot of money in that labor cost. So the other thing I wanted to share with you guys was what it cost for me to actually do from a phase standpoint. So I apologize, I'm gonna be looking down at my notes, but I'm gonna go ahead and look down because there are a lot of categories and I wanna share with you guys what those were. So for instance, from a general standpoint, and I use general for fasteners, and the reason why is because I use fasteners throughout. I basically had two different types of ring shank nails that I used in my framing nailer. It was either a 2-inch or a 2 and 3-inch nail in my framing nailer, and I also had a few different nails and screws that I used, including lag bolts and stuff like that, for me to actually fasten everything together. So when I put all that together, and it was used throughout the project, so when I put all that together, the cost was $57.96. So it's not that expensive, but it is something that matters because it does count towards the end of the project. So the next category is foundation, and that was all the pressure treated items, including all of the dirt work that I did. So I had to bring in some dirt, I had to bring in some gravel. I also had to bring in some of the crusher run to set all of the foundation on. So that total cost was $844.43. So the next category is the walls, which obviously you guys, if you remember and you go back to that video of where I put up all the walls, that was all that lumber that was involved in there. And that came out to $1,330.58. And that was by far and away the most expensive category, or the most expensive phase of building this project. The next one is the roof, and that included all the sheathing, it included all the tar paper and the shingles and all the trim work around that. And that came out to $517. The next one was the windows, and that came out to $125.56. The next one is the door, and again, I custom built that door, so it was mostly lumber, but it was $148.93. So the next category is trim and siding, and that basically covers all of the white corners, everything around the doors and the windows, and of course, all of the siding. And that came out to be $691.76. Put all that together because that was all fiber cement board, and it was all basically HardieBacker, and so, or HardiePlank, and so I wanted to make sure that all those stayed together. The second to last category was the organization, and that was everything that I did inside, and that came out to $62.87. That was just basically a lumber cost because I had everything else here in place. And then the last thing was paint. We used a Sherwin-Williams exterior paint, so it was a little bit more expensive, but remember, we were using that paint because that's the paint that we wanted to test to see what it looked like when we did the house. So that came out to 1 gallon basically, and that cost us $58.20. Again, the total cost was $3,837.39. And I know that that sounds like it's pretty expensive, but the truth is, like I said, I probably saved myself somewhere between 50 and 75% of the total cost of a shed had I gone out and just bought one or had someone build it for me. So I hope all that helps you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed just going over those numbers with me. If you have any questions about any one of these, please drop it down in the comments. I'm happy to answer your questions. I know that it's a lot of information, and it's a little bit difficult to sit there and think about all the different parts and pieces. And because I didn't do this off of plans and I didn't do it off of anything else that somebody gave to me, I basically kept all of my receipts and made sure that I categorized everything as I went along, and so that I can share this with you. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Hope you guys enjoy the shed build. Stay tuned. I'm going to do one more video about the shed, and it's just going to be a big time lapse of just doing the whole thing through. That should be coming out in the next few days. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and if you want to be notified of future videos, don't forget to hit that bell. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good week, everybody.